Say that again. Gregory Hale's voice cut through the hum of the trading floor. Dozens of heads turned. Screens blinked red and green around her, but the real heat was between two people, Alana Brooks, junior analyst, and Gregory Hale, senior investor, Wall Street legend, and resident ego in a $1,000 suit. Gregory smirked, holding his coffee like a trophy. I said, he repeated, slow and loud enough for everyone to hear, you don't belong in this discussion. The grown-ups are talking numbers. The floor went quiet. Someone coughed, someone else pretended to check their phone. Alana's jaw tightened. Then let me speak the language, Mr. Hale. She stepped closer to his desk, calm but dangerous. You bought into Bluestone Mining 3 weeks ago, right? Their quarterly report drops today. He blinked, cautious now. And you missed the shipment delay from their Ghana site. Their cost base jumped 8% overnight. She turned her tablet around, a chart glowing with data. You're about to lose $5 million before lunch. The silence snapped like glass. Gregory stared at the numbers, then at her. How did you? You didn't check the supply chain metrics, she said softly. Because you were too busy talking down to me. A few traders tried to hide their grins. Gregory's face flushed. You think you're smart because you caught one number? No, she replied. I think I'm smart because I care about all of them. That was the spark. The kind that makes reputations or ruins them. Gregory set down his cup and leaned forward. All right, Miss Brooks. Since you're so confident, let's play a little game. He tapped his keyboard, pulling up a dusty portfolio file. EcoTrack Systems, he said. Small logistics startup. We passed on them last year. High risk. High burn rate. He turned the screen so the whole floor could see. I'll give you a virtual portfolio, $500,000. You've got 24 hours to prove your brilliance. Turn a profit, and I'll personally fund your next recommendation. Fail. He smiled, savoring it. And you'll stay in the research room where you belong. Deal? The entire floor leaned in. Every whisper froze in the air. Alana looked at the screen, then at him. Deal, she said. Gregory raised a brow. You sure? I don't gamble, she replied. I calculate. That night, while the city bled neon and noise, Alana sat alone at her desk. No long story, no flashbacks, just a woman and her numbers. Her logic was clean. If arrogance blinded Gregory, precision would bury him. She opened EcoTrack's data, scanning for patterns. Half the firm had already written the company off. But hidden deep in an obscure filing, she saw it. A new AI patent quietly approved but not yet public. If it went live before morning, valuation would explode. She smiled faintly. They never read past the first page. Through the night she built her simulation. Microtrades, hedged bets, timing algorithms that fed on market whispers. Every move quiet, surgical, deliberate. At 3:47 a.m., she pressed run. The model came alive, lines surging upward, numbers cascading like dominoes. If the data held, she wouldn't just double his mock portfolio, she'd triple it. When the elevators opened the next morning, Gregory was already waiting, coffee in hand, smug as ever. Back so soon, he said. Ready to apologize? Alana smiled. Ready to report. She connected her tablet to the main screen. The results appeared instantly, a graph that climbed like a rocket. Her virtual $500,000 now stood at $1.52 million. The room erupted, gasps, murmurs, disbelief. Gregory's smile collapsed. What trick is this? No trick, she said. Just work you didn't think I could do. For a moment, no one moved. Then one trader started clapping. Then another, until the entire floor echoed with applause. Gregory's face drained of color. You manipulated the data, he muttered. Check it, she said. Every number's clean. He did. And when he looked back up, the only thing left in his eyes was the shock of realizing she'd beaten him, publicly, flawlessly, undeniably. But in finance, humiliation doesn't end with applause. Gregory Hale wasn't just angry, he was threatened. And when powerful men feel small, they don't retreat. They retaliate. Alana's victory was only the beginning. The applause had barely faded when Gregory's jaw clenched. He didn't speak, didn't congratulate, didn't even blink. He just turned, collected his papers, and walked away. But everyone on that trading floor knew the story wasn't over. Because on Wall Street, when an ego like Gregory Hale's takes a hit, revenge isn't a question. It's policy. By noon, rumors were already flying. She cheated the model. She had insider info. She hacked something. The whispers came from nowhere and everywhere. Alana knew whose fingerprints they bore. Gregory Hale's voice didn't need to speak to be heard. His influence traveled through smiles, through subtle dismissals, through the kind of power that didn't raise its tone. It simply erased yours. By afternoon, her inbox filled with questions from compliance. Please clarify your data source. Please resubmit your trading logs. Each one was framed politely, but the meaning was sharp. Prove you didn't cheat. She replied to every email, calm and precise. Every timestamp logged. Every source cited. Unbreakable. But this was never about paperwork. It was about power. 2 days later, the partners called a meeting. The air in the glass boardroom was thick, half curiosity, half bloodlust. Gregory stood near the head of the table, pretending neutrality. Beside him sat Thomas Vale, the managing partner, silver hair, steady eyes, and a reputation for fairness that had long since turned into myth. Miss Brooks, Thomas began, your simulation performance has attracted attention. Yes, sir, she said. Some believe it may not have been entirely compliant. Alana stayed still. Then let's review it. Gregory crossed his arms. That's not the point, Thomas. The issue isn't compliance, it's trust. If she can pull off something that none of our senior analysts saw, we have to question how she did it. Thomas looked at him. Do you have proof of misconduct? Gregory smiled. Not yet. Then we'll proceed with respect, Thomas said. But Alana knew how these things worked. In finance, accusation is a stain that doesn't need confirmation, only repetition. That night, Alana sat in her small corner office, the city glowing behind her. The anger simmered, quiet, contained, dangerous. She could have shouted, could have written a fiery defense. But she chose silence, not weakness, but strategy. Let them talk. Let them dig. Because the numbers didn't lie, and soon, they wouldn't be the only thing exposing the truth. She opened her files again. EcoTrack Systems, the company that sparked all this. And there it was, a news alert. EcoTrack announces partnership with Global Freight Solutions patent technology confirmed. Her eyes widened. The same patent she'd based her simulation on. Now public, validated, and booming. Within minutes, EcoTrack's stock price surged 280%. Exactly as she predicted. Her simulation wasn't just theoretical anymore. It had just become real. And that meant Gregory Hale's own portfolios, which had ignored her recommendation, were bleeding money by the millions. The next morning, Gregory stormed into the trading room, face pale, tie loosened. He slammed his briefcase onto his desk. Who authorized the EcoTrack buy orders? He barked. No one answered. The screens glowed with red, his old positions in energy and mining tanking under new environmental policies. Alana's too risky startup was the new market darling. He turned and saw her. Composed. Focused on her monitor. It wasn't arrogance. It was clarity. And that infuriated him even more. He marched over. This is your fault, he hissed. You set me up. She didn't even look up. No, Mr. Hale, she said quietly. You set yourself up when you underestimated the data, and me. He leaned closer. You think this firm will take your side? They'll eat you alive. She smiled faintly. Then I hope they're hungry. He froze, because for the first time, he realized she wasn't afraid. By midday, the partners knew. EcoTrack's success made headlines across every finance outlet. And on every article, one name appeared in the small print. Analysis provided by Alana Brooks, Whitestone Capital. Clients began calling, asking for her by name. Not Gregory. Not the partners. Within 48 hours, she became the face of the firm's unexpected success story. Gregory watched from the sidelines as his dominance began to crack. One afternoon, Thomas Vale called both of them into his office. He looked at Gregory first. "Mr. Hale, I've reviewed the compliance reports. Miss Brooks' data is clean. In fact, her predictive analysis is the most accurate we've seen in years." Gregory's face tightened. "With respect, Thomas." "No," Thomas interrupted. "With respect, Gregory. You doubted her. You challenged her. She won. And she did it ethically." Then he turned to Alana. "Effective immediately, we're promoting you to Senior Analyst, Market Innovations Division." The room was silent. Gregory's jaw dropped. Thomas added quietly, "And she'll be leading our EcoTrack portfolio, the one you passed on." The announcement spread like wildfire. A week later, Whitestone Capital hosted its annual investor summit, a glittering ballroom filled with bankers, CEOs, and journalists. Gregory sat stiffly at the front table, expression carved in stone. The host stepped up to the microphone. "Tonight," he said, "we celebrate innovation, foresight, and leadership embodied by our newest senior analyst, Ms. Alana Brooks." Applause thundered. Cameras flashed. Alana stepped onto the stage in a sleek navy suit, calm as the sea. She took the microphone and looked over the crowd, her colleagues, the skeptics, and in the front row, Gregory Hale. Her voice was steady. "When you believe in data, you trust logic. But when you believe in people, you find potential others overlook. This past month has reminded me, the greatest investments aren't in numbers, but in vision." The audience cheered. Gregory shifted uncomfortably, his eyes lowered. Then came the final blow, not cruel but poetic. "Special thanks," she said, smiling faintly, "to those who dared me to prove myself. I couldn't have done it without you." The crowd laughed, a warm, knowing laughter. Gregory's face flushed red. He forced a smile, clapping slowly the applause of defeat. Cameras caught it. So did every trader in the firm. In that moment, he wasn't the master of the market anymore. She was. After the event, Alana stepped onto the balcony, the city lights shimmering below. Her assistant handed her a drink. "You did it," he said. She smiled. "No. The numbers did." He chuckled. "And you?" She looked down at the streets, endless motion, endless noise. "Let them underestimate me," she murmured. "It keeps them predictable." Inside, the music swelled again, applause, laughter, the hum of admiration. She didn't need to join it. She'd already won. Because the real victory wasn't the promotion. It was the silence of the man who once told her she didn't belong, now forced to applaud her rise. And as the city pulsed beneath her feet, Alana Brooks smiled quietly, knowing she hadn't just beaten a man. She'd beaten a mindset. The applause had faded, but tension never truly leaves Wall Street. It only hides in smiles, in toasts, in the silence after success. Gregory Hale sat at his desk late that night, staring at Alana's face on the front page of the financial ledger. Whitestone's rising star, Alana Brooks triples investor returns. He clenched his jaw. For 20 years, he'd built his name on dominance, on being the smartest man in the room. Now a woman he'd dismissed in public had rewritten his record overnight. And worse, she did it with grace. That he couldn't forgive. He leaned back, opened a private folder on his laptop. One labeled EcoTrack Internal. His smirk returned. If he couldn't beat her in daylight, he'd do it in the shadows. 2 nights later, anonymous emails began circulating. Attachments. Accusations. EcoTrack deal tied to insider leaks. Whitestone under SEC review. The whispers returned, sharper than ever. But this time, they weren't just office rumors. They were legal storms. Thomas Vale called Alana into his office at dawn. His expression was grave. "The SEC received a report that your EcoTrack projections came from non-public data." Alana blinked. "That's impossible. They're requesting all your correspondence." She nodded. "Give them everything." He studied her face, calm, steady. He sighed. "I believe you. But Gregory's behind this. I can smell it." She didn't answer. But the quiet determination in her eyes said everything. That night, Alana went home early. Not to hide, but to think. She replayed every trade, every data point, every conversation. Then she smiled, not with pride, but with precision. She opened her laptop and began typing. A message. One that would change everything. 3 days later, the SEC arrived. Formal suits. Cold eyes. They filled the glass conference room like judges at an execution. Gregory sat across the table, pretending neutrality. He'd even brought documents to assist the inquiry. The lead investigator, Ms. Chin, began. Ms. Brooks, it appears your EcoTrack analysis reference documents unavailable to the public before the partnership announcement. Can you explain that? Alana opened her folder. I can do better, she said softly. I can show you where they came from. She handed over a USB drive. Ms. Chin plugged it in. Dozens of data logs filled the screen, timestamps, links, and public records of patent filings. All open source. All verified. Then came the twist. At the bottom of one file, a name appeared. Accessed by Gregory Hale. The room went still. Ms. Chen's eyebrows lifted. Mr. Hale, why does your login appear in these datasets? Gregory froze. That's a mistake. Alana's voice stayed calm. I noticed someone copying my model files the night before the simulation contest. I didn't stop it. I tracked it. And I copied every trace. Guess. Ms. Chen looked at him sharply. So you accessed proprietary files before accusing her of misconduct? Gregory's throat tightened. I was verifying. Thomas Vale stood slowly. Enough, he said. This hearing is over. By evening, Gregory Hale was escorted out of Whitestone Capital, quietly, but not invisibly. Traders whispered as he passed. The man who once ruled the floor now walked it like a ghost. He left behind his badge, his reputation, and a silence that echoed louder than his pride ever did. Alana watched from her office window, expression unreadable. She didn't smile. Because real victory doesn't need celebration, it needs closure. A week later, Whitestone hosted a press conference. Cameras everywhere. Every network wanted the story. The analyst who outsmarted Wall Street. The host smiled. Ms. Brooks, people say your rise was a miracle. What's your secret? She took the microphone, paused, and scanned the crowd. There's no secret, she said softly. There's just preparation and patience. You can't fake skill forever. You can't bury truth forever. And you can't break someone who refuses to play by your rules. The audience erupted in applause. Then she said the line that became legend. You asked me to prove myself. I did not to you, but to every woman who's ever been told her place was behind someone else's desk. The crowd stood. Reporters shouted her name. And somewhere beyond the cameras, Gregory watched from a distance. His empire reduced to a headline about arrogance undone. Later that evening, Alana walked alone on the trading floor. Empty screens. Faint hum of electricity. She placed her hand on the desk where she'd once been mocked. And whispered, thank you. Not to Gregory, but to the challenge. Because without the humiliation, she'd never have revealed her own brilliance. The moral wasn't revenge. It was clarity. She didn't beat a man. She beat the mindset that measured worth by bias instead of merit. Weeks later, the firm held its investor gala brighter, louder, more crowded than ever. Everyone was there. Clients, executives, the press. When Alana walked in, the crowd turned not in mockery this time, but admiration. Thomas Vale raised his glass. To the future of Whitestone, he declared, and to the woman who reminded us what intelligence looks like when it's underestimated. Applause thundered. Even the CEO of EcoTrack stood up to shake her hand. As flashbulbs lit the hall, someone in the crowd shouted, Alana, you tripled the firm's worth. What's next? She smiled calm, confident. Next, she said, we make sure brilliance doesn't need permission to shine. Cheers erupted. Cameras caught the moment, the poise, the elegance, the power. And above the roar of success, one truth stood tall. Brains over prejudice always. In every room where you're doubted, let your results speak louder than your defense. In every system that underestimates you, use its rules to build your own victory. Because power built on arrogance collapses, but power built on knowledge never fades. If this story moved you, don't just scroll, share it. Let someone who's been underestimated know what quiet strength can do. Subscribe to Hidden Tales for more stories.